Welcome to this explainer. Grab your trench coats and your magnifying glasses because today we're adopting a detective's mindset. We are going to hunt down the true subjects of sentences, the ones hiding among some seriously tricky grammatical decoys. You know, in a perfectly written sentence, the subject and the verb have to agree. They got to match in number. But, as any writer will tell you, that is way easier said than done.
Just think about this notoriously tricky sentence. Either grapes or mango ice cream is or are the specialty. See, sentences like this, they are absolutely brilliant at disguising their true subjects. If you're leaning toward are because of grapes, or maybe you're thinking it's is because of mango ice cream, well, you're experiencing firsthand exactly why subject-verb agreement can be such a frustrating puzzle. But hold on to your answer, because by the end of this explainer, you're going to know exactly how to crack this case, and plenty of others just like it.
Okay, let's dive right into this. Here is our roadmap. We're going to start with the golden rule, navigate the prepositional phrase trap, figure out what to do when verbs come first, tackle tricky and definite pronouns, and finish up by conquering compound subjects. First up, Section 1, the golden rule, matching number. So the foundational rule here is actually pretty simple. A singular subject takes a singular verb, and a plural subject takes a plural verb. But take a really close look at these present tense examples. The student listens versus the students listen. It's actually a little counterintuitive, isn't it? I mean, for nouns, we usually add an S to make them plural. For present tense verbs, adding an S makes them singular. So the student, singular, listens, singular verb with an S. And the students, plural, listen, plural verb, no S. Getting this baseline pattern locked into your brain is absolutely crucial for the detective work we're about to do. Moving right along to Section 2, the prepositional phrase trap. Spotting the decoy.
Now, quite often, a bunch of words will get wedged right between your subject and your verb, creating this massive distraction. And the absolute most common culprit here is the prepositional phrase. Basically, this is just a phrase that begins with a preposition and ends with a noun or a pronoun. But as grammar sleuths, here is your ironclad golden rule. The true subject of a sentence is never, and I literally mean absolutely never, found inside a prepositional phrase. To spot these decoys, you really need to know what red flags to look for. Keep a close eye out for these super common prepositions: in, on, for, from, to, of, and by. Seriously, whenever you see a phrase starting with one of these just dropped into the middle of your sentence, your internal detective alarms should definitely be ringing. Let's actually put that into practice. Check out this sentence. The wafer in this ice cream tastes like sawdust. Now, our natural instinct is to look at the word sitting right next to the verb, which is ice cream. Since ice cream is singular, we might just guess tastes. And hey, that happens to be right. But it's right for the completely wrong reason. Look closely at the phrase, in this ice cream. In is a preposition. So as a sleuth, you want to mentally cross out that entire phrase. Just scratch it out. In this ice cream is nothing but a decoy. So what's left? The wafer. Wafer is our true singular subject, which means the correct singular verb is indeed tastes. Section 3, when verbs come first, reversing the order. Sometimes the subject is actually hiding right behind the verb, and when that happens, you need a really active technique to expose it. Our source material outlines this super reliable 3-step sleuth method. Step 1, find the verb. Step 2, ask yourself who or what is actually doing that verb. And step 3, simply match the subject that answers your question. Let's apply those exact steps to this question. Where is or are the keys of the cupboard? Okay, step 1, find the verb. Well, our options here are is or are. Step 2, ask what is or what are. What are where? Now, the answer isn't the cupboard. Remember our preposition rule from earlier? Of the cupboard is a total decoy phrase. The true answer to what are is the keys. And since keys is a plural subject, we just match it up with a plural verb. So the correct sentence is, where are the keys of the cupboard? On to Section 4, tricky indefinite pronouns, the disguised subjects. And this brilliantly illustrates how we can break down the absolute chaos of pronouns into 3 really clear, manageable categories based on our source data. On the left, we've got pronouns that are always singular, no matter what context you put them in. This includes words like everyone, neither, and one. In the middle, we have pronouns that are always plural, like both and a few. And on the right, the tricksters. Pronouns where it entirely depends on the context, words like some and all. Now, what's really interesting is how this rule plays out in real, everyday speech. Read this sentence. Neither of my parents is alive. It kind of sounds a bit strange to the ear, doesn't it? Our brain immediately hears that plural word parents and practically begs us to put the plural verb are right next to it. But remember our two rules. First up, of my parents is a prepositional decoy phrase. Cross it right out. Second, neither is an indefinite pronoun that is always singular. This singular subject completely overrides that plural decoy, meaning we have to use the singular verb is.
But what about that it depends column? Well, let's contrast these two sentences. Some of the chicken is still on the table versus some of the guests are not having chicken. For pronouns like some or all, the verb depends entirely on the word immediately following it inside the prepositional phrase. I know, it's like the one single time we actually care about what's inside a prepositional phrase. Since chicken is singular, some becomes singular, and we use is. But since guests is plural, some becomes plural, and we use are.
Let's move on and see how this builds in Section 5, Conquering Compound Subjects, the Power of and or. When compound subjects are joined by the word and, it's actually incredibly straightforward. Take petrol and car repairs. They combine forces. 1 + 1 = 2, which means they almost always require a plural verb. That's exactly why we use are my biggest expenses. Simple enough, right? But now, we get to bring back our tricky hook question from the very beginning of this explainer. Remember this? Either grapes or mango ice cream is, or are, the specialty. Notice that these subjects aren't joined by and, they're joined by or. And when subjects are joined by or, nor, either or neither nor, they do not combine forces. They act separately. So how on earth do we choose the right verb? So the crucial point here is something called the proximity rule. When compound subjects are joined by or nor, the verb simply has to agree with the subject that is physically closest to it in the sentence. Let's look back at our ice cream dilemma. The two subjects are the plural, grapes, and the singular, mango ice cream. Which one is sitting right next to our verb slot? Mango ice cream. And because the singular mango ice cream is closest, the correct answer is the singular verb is. Either grapes or mango ice cream is the specialty. Case closed. Let's do one final quick-fire test directly from the sources practice section to see if you have truly mastered this sleuth mindset. The rainforests of Brazil is or are home to many species. Okay, what's the decoy? Yep, you guessed it, of Brazil is a prepositional phrase. Cross it out. The true subject is the plural, rainforests, so we naturally match it with the plural verb. The rainforests of Brazil are home to many species. As we wrap this up, remember the core lesson here today. The true subject is always there. You just have to learn how to look past the decoys. Whether it's a sneaky prepositional phrase, a completely reversed sentence order, or some tricky indefinite pronoun in disguise, you now have the exact tools you need to spot the traps. So the next time you sit down to fire off an email, draft an essay, or write a report, are you ready to sleuth out the hidden grammatical traps in your own writing? Keep those detective skills sharp, and thanks so much for joining me on this explainer.